Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. It is Thursday, January 6th, 2022. And how can I forget today's date as it's not as I heard one of the officers say, it's not the anniversary or a celebratory thing, but just an acknowledgement of the insurrection that took place in Washington, D.C. a year ago. And I'm in the process now of trying to see if we can get our Congresswoman Presley to come and chat with us about it. But it is Thankful Thursday. January 6, 2022. And I am so thankful this morning to have my esteemed guest in the room. I can see her in the background. She's flipping paper. She's still working. But I am thankful for her being in the room today. We're going to bring her in a couple of seconds. Please note that I will not be able to do as much engagement in the beginning with the comments because we would like to spend as much time as possible with our U.S. attorney, Rachael Rollins. And so we're going to bring her into the room.
How are you?
I am doing what? So can I just say something very light real quick? Because I'm not sure if you noticed on Twitter, but I was hoping you was going to wear your bun today.
Oh, I know. You know what's funny? I wonder, am I getting like soft now that I have this new job? Am I going to keep the bun low or high? But I'm going to be honest with you. That I thought we were on the phone. So I looked like, goodness, Edward Scissorhands about 2 minutes ago. My hair was everywhere crazy. So I just ran and brushed it so I could try to look fancy for you.
You always look wonderful, Queen. But just starting off a little bit light, it is Thankful Thursday. And I say that because one of the things we're going to talk about is an issue you're dealing with not getting protection. But it is Thankful Thursday. And so I am going to try to stick to U.S. Attorney Rollins and not say D.A. Rollins, and at worst not say Rachael. But no, in reference to just to close out the thing with the bun, there was a conversation about creating a Twitter account. I have had people hit me up and say, ask her, what does she do? But just starting off a little bit light on Thankful Thursday. But U.S. Attorney Rollins, first of all, congratulations on your appointment and getting through that process, which we know can be interesting. But let's start off this morning. Why are you thankful on this Thankful Thursday? Let's start with some intentional thankfulness before we talk all the other stuff.
Sure. I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for my beautiful family. I am blessed to be a mother of a 17-year-old, soon to be 18-year-old. I'm the guardian of two of my nieces, Mia and Victoria, that are 12 and 8. I'm thankful for my soon-to-be husband, Russell, who's a wonderful,
Excuse me. I didn't, I'm not.
Yeah. No.
Well, congrats. When did this happen? Christmas?
This happened on my birthday last year, and we've been deliberate about, making sure we are setting the time right. I had a very busy last year, and so did he. And but he's a wonderful addition to my life. I'm really blessed to have him. I care deeply, obviously, for him, and he's great with my children, and he's a wonderful father. And so I have a lot to be thankful for. I know we have a lot to work on in our community and in this world, but if we take a moment and breathe and realize that we are still here, yes. I have my health for now, and I'm deeply grateful for that. So lots to be thankful for.
So I'll correct you and say you have your health, period. Let's affirm that you're going to have it. Just have it. But I would be remiss if I didn't shout out my brother Russ and say congratulations. And I almost felt my eyes get moist because I've known this brother for a long time, and it just to see what he's doing his industry on the low and making a huge impact with some folks. So congratulations to both of you. I got to ask, is this the first time that you said it publicly?
I have definitely mentioned it, but I don't think
okay.
I don't think the other news syndicates maybe know as well who he is. So
Okay.
I'm very proud to say it incredibly loud now. And it's nothing I would ever hide, but yeah, no, I'm putting his business out there and making it known now. Right.
That's dope. That's dope. And congratulations. And let's just hashtag Black Love.
Yeah.
Let's just celebrate that. And so, U.S. Attorney Rollins, you were inaugurated inaugurated in January 2018? 19. And so over the past 3 years, Facebook Memories does their thing, and we have quite a few pictures and stuff together. What I'm going to jump right in and ask you, because during the race, and early on, our dynamic was interesting, and you helped correct that very quickly. I'll never forget what you said when we sat down. But we learned a lot about the difference that the DA makes, and you, ma'am, are leaving a legacy. So what would you, and I see that inhale, so I don't know if it's hitting you or not, but what would you articulate as your legacy for what you've done for Black and brown people, for people that are dealing with substance use and addiction, for those that have what some would classify as petty crimes and low, I don't know the terms of the crimes. What would you articulate as your legacy, U.S. Attorney Rollins, when you were just as of less than 24 hours ago, the district attorney? And I'm not trying to take you there, but you're leaving a legacy, ma'am. You are.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. And what's beautiful is technically I am being sworn in as the U.S. Attorney Monday morning. First and foremost, I want you to call me Rachel, but I am still the DA until I am no longer whatever. But I understand I'm sort of straddling between two worlds right now. So my legacy, I think what was beautiful about our 2018 and the campaign of all 5 Democratic candidates for the district attorney's job is, in fact, the ACLU had a campaign of their own called "What a Difference a DA Makes."
Oh, absolutely.
And Rachael Hall, in particular, who we now know is running for DA himself in Plymouth County. But I just think we saw an awakening in our community of people saying, that's it, right? Like this, there is virtually no other industry where Black and brown people are more represented, and there is less representation in management and leadership, or the people actually making the decision. So again, and I would make no assumptions, but if any one of your callers or myself, and I if you've ever been charged with a crime or arrested and you walk in, sometimes the person that, you go to probation and speak with doesn't look like you. If you are arrested, the person that brings you up into the Bay Area and not California, the sort of plexiglass enclosure, right, that you walk into, that court officer doesn't look like you. Your DA doesn't look like your ADA, your criminal defense lawyer, public defender, the clerk, the judge. We need to make sure that there is at least the appearance of the fact that you have a shot in the system, and that people aren't looking at you as somebody who I've seen you before, because I've had 17 defendants that also lived in your neighborhood. I want cultural competency in these roles. So I think my legacy is, it is not in any way dumbing down the criminal legal system, but Jimmy, just like I don't know how to do a podcast, I am not an exceptional journalist or media specialist. I have not necessarily been an activist like you have. I would never assume that I knew more than you in that role. It's your job to make sure I understand what you do. I firmly believe as DA, it's my job to explain to the community what I do. And if you don't understand, that's my failure, not yours. we have to be able to explain it in a way that 12-year-olds can understand, because that's how old you can be when you enter the criminal legal system. So I hope my legacy is, look, if I make a mistake, I don't back down and I say I'm sorry. But I also have no problem explaining and looking at people and saying, no, I'm aware, we're not doing that. Yeah. And I think our community, that's all we want, quite frankly, is to be respected enough to be spoken to and asked our opinion about what we want, because these crimes are happening in our communities. And for you to see more than just our loved ones in the snapshot of the crime they are alleged to have committed, or the crime that was committed against them, or whatever it is that they witnessed, that we see the mosaic of that life. That's what I hope my legacy is that I have worked incredibly hard in this role. I have tried to make things fair and equitable. I have shown up and taken the slings and arrows as well as the hugs and kisses, right? And the thanks. But I have also made Suffolk County safer and healthier.
One thing that I've always loved about you is your candor. Got introduced it, as I've often referred to, from day one. And you have been very bold in this revolution to the office. While you spoke to legacy, what is it that, if you were to sit back right now, what are the top 3 things or achievements that you made, either through some practice? I don't know if you proposed or had to put some of those things through legislation, but what are the top 3 things where you sit back and Rachel's like, we, because I know you won't say we did that.
Yeah. So the memo, my memo is my legacy, you know,
to the police commissioners early on.
The one I wrote, the Rollins memo 3 months after getting inaugurated. Mm-hmm. I essentially converted that 1-page, you know, sort of mantra or policy as a candidate, when I said, look, let's flip the presumption from always arraigning everyone and then doing nothing for 3, 6, 9, 12 months, and then ultimately dismissing after we've forced you to come to court 6 to 8 times. If you miss one court date, you get a default and then a warrant. And it's like basically you're stuck in a spider web. Like, you can't get out. And with fines and fees and, you know, depending on what judge you have, if you get there at 9:01, default. Other judges, you get there at 8:30, they don't come out until 11. And you're like, damn, you know, I guess I'm just going to wait here for 3 hours. Depending on if you're at BMC Central, you have to pay for parking. That can be $35. I mean, it's tough, right? Yes, I think the memo turned that 1-page sort of mandate of, let's flip the presumption and do a study and see if we, instead of arraigning virtually every one of these cases, if instead we flipped the presumption to getting people services, treatment, help in these 15 categories of nonviolent, non-serious crimes, let's see what happens. And the data was awesome, Jimmy. We had, you know, PhDs come in, they looked at 17 years of data, 67,000 cases, and it proved that when we push people away from the system for nonviolent, non-serious crimes, they don't come back at as high a rate as if we force you to be arraigned and make, you know, and these aren't even mistakes. If you're 5 minutes late because the T shut down, that's not my fault, right? Or you can't get a babysitter. You're blaming me because I don't have the ability to pay for health, like childcare, or, you know, I'm sick or something happened. So I think the memo, which turned that 1-pager into 66 pages, and I sent that to my staff and said, this is your operating manual, right? That is number 1 I'm most proud of. Number 2, we created an executive team, you know, and again, you know, I am a Black woman. My mom is West Indian, my dad is Irish American, but no one looks at me and says, you know, Rachel, the Irish DA from Boston, right? I'm a Black woman, right? So my executive team that I inherited was functionally really smart, didn't reflect Suffolk County at all. In the top 11 positions, 0, completely homogenous, right? Irish, male, one or two women. They were really smart, but I don't think they appropriately represented or reflected all of Suffolk County. Some of them self-selected out and are on the bench now or getting great jobs. But right now, Jimmy, we have over 50% of my executive leadership is women. Over 50% of my executive leadership are women of color or people of color. We have language proficiency. Over 70% of them actually live in Suffolk County, which I think is important. We have survivors of homicide. We have a licensed independent clinical social worker who's doing our VWA work. Where I need to be better, quite frankly, is our ADAs, our staff, are not as diverse as they need to be. That's my second thing I'm proud of. And then third is the fearlessness of, it's not that I'm riding blind and shooting from the hip. I know my shit, excuse my language.
Come, sorry.
For sure. And so what I am doing though is not, meekly asking for permission. Because power is never given. It's taken. And what we will do is when rogue judges believe that they know better than what the people of Suffolk County have asked for, which is me, and to the tune of 185,000 votes, over 80% of the people that voted in the general.
Hold on. I haven't heard you say that in a couple of years. The first couple of times we talked online, you said, just say it one more time. So
I'm for real. Like in a crowded Democratic primary, I got over 40% of that vote with 5 of us after being told the blacks will split the vote. No, we did not. 1. 2, in the general against, someone else, a Republican, 80% of the vote. That is a mandate. 185,000 people voted for DA. That has never happened in the history of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I have Ayanna to thank for that. I have Nika Elagardo, right? I have Liz Miranda. I am not taking credit for that. There was a movement. I have the community to thank for that. But basically, what I did was, if people are actually gonna, if I told you how many people said to me, I have never voted for a DA before in my life, I can't believe I voted for you. If people are getting out of their comfort zone, I have to get out of mine. And I can't try to be friends with the judges or the legislature or whatever. I told you, I didn't get in this job to make friends. I got in this job to make change, because we are decades back from where we needed to be regarding the criminal legal system. So when we stand up and say, no, this list of 15 is real, we aren't prosecuting these cases except for in limited circumstances. The data show now, Jimmy, in 75% of the cases we didn't prosecute, but in 25% we did, right? Okay. If you've been, coddled, or we've tried to divert 5 or 6 times and it isn't working, okay, then we're going to have the court arraign you. And then we'll have the assistance of the court and probation to see whether we can try to help you get into treatment or services or something else. But that's what I'm proud of. I'm deeply proud of over 400 years of wrongful convictions undone. I've been bold about that. I'm deeply proud of showing up at when not just murder scenes, but when the community is hurting, so that they can see that I care enough. If I am getting out of my bed to show up here, no, I don't need a medal, but I also know I've never seen the DA show up at some of these other scenes before. We need to make sure the community knows I'm an elected official. If you aren't happy with what I'm doing, you can speak to me about that, right? Mm-hmm. And you can ask for a meeting with my office, and we should be able to answer those questions. So those are the type of things. And the last thing, Jimmy, is when we divert away our time and resources. Remember, 80% of what the DA's office was doing before was those nonviolent, non-serious crimes. And there's this mindset of every arrest makes us safer. Well, wait a minute. If you're arresting me for parking crooked, how is that making us safer? If you're making arrests for homicides, rapes, kidnapping, armed assault with intent to murder, yes, those are likely. But we have to break away and look below the surface of saying 80% on nonviolent, non-serious crimes, but we have 1,300 unsolved homicides in Boston, dating back to the 60s. So what I was able to do is create the Crime Strategies Bureau with the money that we aren't spending on prosecuting. And guess what? It's dismissed anyways, like 9 months later. So let's just be smart and do that up front and get you involved with a program in the city of Boston, Chelsea, Winthrop, Revere, or a state program. We created Crime Strategies, Discharge Integrity Team, Integrity Review Bureau, and the Project for Unsolved Suffolk Homicides.
So there's quite a few things that you've accomplished, but I think a couple of things you say very casually that I want to make sure that people don't miss. You refer to a 400-year history. You said, Rachel, but you know, you're getting sworn in. That's the public affirmation, as my bishop used to talk about. The people have affirmed you through the vote, through Congress, and so that's just the ceremony. You are the U.S. Attorney, ma'am. So 400 years of changing a system. And let's go a little bit down that vein. You referred to Congresswoman Presley, State Rep Miranda, State Rep El Ugaro. You all were a part of this thing, and was Julia a part of that as well in 18? Was
Julia
that 18?
came after, and
after. Okay,
I claim Julia because Julia was through my amazing campaign manager Ann. Julia got our headquarters, which is dope. Okay, right on Center Street, right there.
Okay, and so there was this movement and seizure by Black women. And so let's talk about this a little bit because it's in the news and it's public, and with where you can. But, you know, as much as that was successful, we unfortunately, through what you're very well aware of, a past couple of incidents that included domestic violence, that included a young woman, you know, being killed and not being able to be found. I don't know if that was in your county, but I know how you are, and any human being wouldn't go untouched. And so with the success of what happened with you all, with them not wanting to give you protection, what is it that you would say as a Black woman to other Black women, either that want to run? Well, we can do run for office later, but what would you say to them to fortify themselves? You're dealing with this at a macro and probably get still a lot of micro aggressions. What was it that you want to say to Black women, period?
That we first and foremost are amazing, but we have to take care of ourselves. We are frequently taking care of so many other people that we often, or I can speak for myself, put myself last. And it is not a negative to be selfish when it comes to your mental health and your physical health. And I'll be honest, Jimmy, until quite recently, only really focused on physical health, right? As DA, I have now seen the number of people, and it's a crisis. And quite frankly, it's profoundly sad that there are so many mental health issues in our community. And there are so many stigmas in our community about speaking out about violence and sexual assault and all of the harms that, of course, we're going to be damaged if that was what we were brought into the world experiencing, right? And that nobody helped us. You know, we know this, Jimmy. There are young people, depending on where geographically you live, that have more PTSD than war veterans because they have seen or heard shot spotter activation, shootings, murders. It is devastating that we have teens, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, that know people that have been murdered, right? And so that beautiful Black woman that went out on a date and was missing, and her family had to find her body. Her body was not found in Suffolk County. But remember, guys, she's from here. Her family is from here. So even though that might be a Middlesex County murder, Suffolk County feels that pain. Right?
Yes, that's right.
And so all of our street workers, all of our victim witness advocates, all of our SOAR team, and all of our others that are deeply committed are the ones when there are vigils, those vigils might not happen at the location where her body.
It happened up the street. It happened up the street
in Suffolk County, right? Those are Boston people that are hurting, and That's what we need to understand better. Like the system talks in jurisdiction lines, but trauma and harm bleed over, quite frankly, into several different areas. And what I would say to Black women is, you know, we Black people are the only group of people on this planet that get blamed for our murders, right? Black women are missing. Nobody cares, right? And this isn't even me race baiting, which is, of course, what trolls will try to say. Look at the stats, right?
Numbers don't lie.
Weeks before Jassy Carrera was missing for those 24, 32 hours when we didn't know what was happening. Remember, there was a white woman that was missing a few weeks before. The city shut down. The T had every one of their, you know, like cameras activated to find. Thank God we found her alive. Thank God we found her alive. Mm-hmm. And my office prosecuted the man that had harmed her and taken her and, you know, abused her. And we aren't going to use her name because she is a victim, and we don't use those names. I am only saying Jassy Carrera's name because sadly, Louis D. Coleman killed her. But there was a slow like movement in the beginning about Jassy. Why? Like, we have to create our own websites to say, can you help us? Jimmy, our tax dollars pay for the police. Our tax dollars pay for the DA's office. All of the Black people I know work, right? Or are paying into a system that is not helping them at the level that maybe others are being helped at. And everything I do, Jimmy, everything I do is to, one, keep the community safe and healthy is important, right? To say that as well.
Yes.
Safety and health go together. But two is to mend the relationships between our community and law enforcement. Because when you start believing, Jimmy, that's when your listenership is going to say, you know what? I got this grand jury notice or this trial jury notice. I'm going to go and be a juror, right? Because then
you never know.
That's right. That's right. If we don't have Black people on our juries, if we don't have Black people on our grand juries, you can't hold the Commonwealth accountable to make sure we meet our burden, right? If you've witnessed a crime, but you've also seen corruption in my office, you know, with other members of law enforcement, you aren't going to come forward and say, I know information about a murder from 15 years ago. Will you protect me? If you don't believe it's going to happen. But when you start believing in the system, you'll call the tips line at Boston Police Department. You'll call the DA's office. And honestly, even if it's not my jurisdiction, you'll call me and I'll get you in the right. I will make sure I get you to the right person. And I will make sure I say, how are we getting witness protection or other assistance for people that are brave enough to come forward and say, I want to help and tell you what I saw.
The team told me we have about 4 minutes left, and I wanted you to start with Black women, but you've also been very supportive, named the imbalance of Black men and women, but Black men too.
For
and
sure.
If you could give us, what would you say to young Black men, older Black men as well? What would you? Because there is, sort of a difference. Our women are not as protected. It's a whole thing. And as a woman, as a mom, because I asked you a personal question, and this thing that you move in to change law enforcement exudes out of you. And so you start 2 seconds to the personal, and then you get into the policy of how it affects. Well, I get it in real time because that affects the personal. But what would you say to Black men?
What I'd say is we need more of you. We need more of you in leadership, for sure. I broke down crying when I visited Norfolk, MCI Norfolk, and met with the AACC, looking around this room after maybe the second or third meeting I had with the gentlemen there, because they are thoughtful, fluent in criminal legislation, right? Policy. And I'm looking around and I'm saying, if these men were out, they'd be on the Boston City Council. They'd be the head of, we have Abergall, right? Who has been honest about, and I am not outing him, honest about his touch with the criminal legal system. and the fact that he has risen like a phoenix.
Him, Conan, Darrell.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Right. But what I want is to make sure that Black men and Black women, we can't be fighting with each other. Right. And that we have to make sure that, you know, and again, that doesn't mean we can't hold each other accountable, but it is really important that I recognize Black men are often the most represented in the criminal legal system in a negative way and have the least representation on, in decision-making positions. Yep. So for example, when we see Rasan Hall saying he's going to run for DA, that's outstanding. When we see Brian Worrell, who just won on the Boston City Council, and it's been 5 years since there's been a Black man, or more than that, I think, with Tito Jackson. When we see our last governor was Deval Patrick is one of the only, and of course, Julia Mejia shows up and represents all day. But what I will say to you is, for Black and brown men in particular, we want to make sure that you have leadership positions. I am deeply proud. And now I believe he's going to go off and do wonderful other things. But we hired Ricky Grant. We promoted Ramon Pascal, right? Really smart young Dominican man, born and raised in Boston, who hadn't been able to be given, who hadn't been given as many opportunities under the previous administration. He's now my head director of HR, right? He is
Ramon that started out, he was doing advance or whatever in the beginning?
Yeah. Ramon. So Ramon is the director of human resources for the Suffolk County DA's office. And he is, and that is not his last stop. I promise you he's going to be moving up. But that's what I'm saying. We hired Ernesto, who worked with Senator Sonia Chang Diaz, gubernatorial candidate. Ernesto is outstanding and heads my government affairs unit. But that's what's really important, is that we are focusing on uplifting them and then making sure that I step back as DA, and where am I pushing them to say, Ricky can handle this on his own, Ernesto can handle this on his own. But we need to stop fighting with each other. And we need to, I want Black men to know that I want to see you successful, right? I have Black men. My siblings are Black men. They have touched this system. And it is not a kind world at times, right? But we have to be supportive. And, I want to be someplace where that can happen. I want to tell you, Jimmy, I am inheriting an office at the U.S. Attorney's Office, over 90 federal prosecutors across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, 0 Black criminal prosecutors, 0. And
male or female, or just 0 Black?
0 at all. And remember, when we think about, there used to be 3 Black Superior Court judges in Massachusetts. 2 are Black women. 1 was a Black man, or still is. And one of those judges just got pulled up to be a federal judge. Our numbers aren't great. We have to do better. And I want to be a resource to hopefully help people with that.
Okay. And U.S. Attorney Rollins, me, it's in the private chat, and I'll just leave that there. Please, ma'am, if you and Matt can work that out.
Yes, I see what you wrote. Yeah. So, but listen, what I'm proud of, Jimmy, and I want your listenership to hear this. I inherited an office with lots of asset forfeiture funds that the previous administration had taken, and that's a whole nother show that we can talk about. But what I said was, I'm putting those funds, we doubled the amount that we gave back to the community. So we went from 50 or 60,000 under the previous administration. My first year, we gave it 100,000.
Yep.
And although South Boston, Charlestown, and West Roxbury are certainly parts of Suffolk County, and they did receive funding under my administration, I said, we're going to fund the places where the violent, serious crimes happen. And overwhelmingly, we put money into Chelsea, Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, right? And then we have now doubled that. We gave out close to $200,000 recently. And so we want people to know when our grant funding process happens. So we will make sure we talk to you about trying to assist before I leave. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I see. I'll say this in this vein, Rachel. I really sincerely love and appreciate you. I refer to it often, but I wasn't a fan. I'll just say it like that. I wasn't a fan in the beginning without knowing you.
Yeah.
And literally within about 45 seconds of us sitting at the table, you responded to what you saw on social media and you told me what your first thought was. And I literally leaned in and said, "Oh my God, I love you."
Yeah.
And so that candor has continued.
The feeling was mutual. I can tell you that. But I think what it speaks to is your character, because we sat down together.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what I think we need to do in Boston, and the rest of the country needs to do better. And I respected you. I wasn't happy when I walked into that meeting, but I knew you had an opinion. I could tell immediately that you were, thoughtful and smart. And whether we left as friends, I left with a respect for you that has only grown in that time. And I think that is a story that we need to talk more about, because ultimately I feel like there is a connection here.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have seen you soar since the moment I met you there.
I appreciate that. And with that being said, I'm going to obey.
I know my team is blowing up the private chat. All right, Jimmy. And when I get over there and get settled, you're going to have the U.S. attorney on this show too.
Because I was going to ask. All right. I love you so much, Rachel. I'm going to go in the background and do some announcements. And I'm ending out this week with all women of color. You, Sandy, who just declared she's running for sheriff.
Yeah.
And then the mayor tomorrow afternoon. And so it's kind of dope, you kicking this off. And so we appreciate you. Godspeed to you. Protect and cover you. And you all put, all right. So y'all put the prayers in the comments for our U.S. Attorney Rollins. She was actually about 4 or 5 minutes over her time. Matt, thank you so much for making this happen. And thank you for following up for what's in that private chat. We're going to go ahead and do some announcements before we get ready to go. Just wanted to remind you that we are kicking off the end of this week with women of color. And we just had a U.S. Attorney Rachael Rollins, as well as tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., this young woman who's worked in the sheriff's office for 16 years or so, close to 20 years, resigned from the sheriff's office on Monday and declared her candidacy for sheriff yesterday morning. And we cast some of that announcement live right here in the Java Cafe. And so Sandy, who's been a good friend for a long time and has done a lot of great work in the community, is coming on tomorrow at 9 a.m. and really talk about who she is and maybe some of her, platform things. But really, I would like for you all to get to know who she is as a person, which can help you better understand her policies and approach coming from her candidacy. And then tomorrow we'll be back together at 1 p.m. for the Honorable Mayor Michelle Wu. She reached out and said, "Hey, Jimmy, I want to check in about the mandate piece and some other things." And she's approaching her 100 days. I believe it's around January 25th or 26th. I believe it's January 26th. She's going to come in on tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. So our Mayor Michelle Wu will be in the Java Cafe tomorrow. And then I'm getting this out early, a week from now, and my public apologies to him. But we wanted to make sure we talked with the U.S. Attorney Rollins. Exit Fame, who is a local artist with a great testimony and a project that's being released tomorrow, actually. I was trying to get him on today, but it didn't work out. We did not want to rush. But he's coming on next Thursday. And as Thursdays are Thankful Thursdays, we're going to have some thankfulness and some rhymes with Exit Fame, an artist from Boston who will be in a room with a powerful testimony. You've heard him here in the Java Cafe on the phone before. You've heard some of his music along with mathematics. He will be here next Thursday at 9 a.m. And so those are the announcements. We will be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. with Sandy, and also with Mayor Michelle Wu at 1 p.m. And we're also going to remind you that you might want to consider signing up for Mass Notify.
Your phone connects you to your family, your friends, your work. It keeps you up to date about the world around you. So why not use it to keep you and your loved ones safe? Now you can. Mass Notify can alert you to possible COVID-19 exposures right on your smartphone. It's anonymous and secure, and your location is never tracked. We're not out of the woods yet, so even if you're vaccinated, Mass Notify is a tool for you. Help Massachusetts reopen safely. Add your phone to the fight. Visit mass.gov/massnotify.
All right, everyone, we're going to wrap up. It is Thankful Thursday. I'm going, oh my goodness. Hold on, let me go in. Okay, so let me just, if you all will bear with me for a couple of seconds, I'll go till 9:45. Let's just go in and check in. I appreciate all of you being in the room. Reverend, the good bishop, Donald Osgood is in the room. And as our DA just talked about, those who respond from the community to issues of violence. I've seen this brother and the neighborhood response team in action at the Pringle Memorial the other night. And so Donald, shout out to you. He prayed, he was there for people. And so we definitely appreciate you, sir. And it's so interesting because I'll go ahead and say it. The beginning and to what has evolved into that team now started out from this right here. And it's so funny, Sharon, you spiritual. It's so funny because that card that they give out, the campaign with the champagne and blue color and light blue things that you've seen in the bus stops, a lot of that comes from the card came out before We Need to Know, but that neighborhood trauma team, the per diem team and whatnot, that came from the community coming together and listening to the city and other officials saying what it is that they do. And then we took a break, and then the community came and told them, this is what you say you do, but this is our experience. And I believe it was on February 10th or February 18th, 2018, a couple of months actually, after a young man by the name of Amin Lacey, the son of a neighbor and like a sister, he was like a nephew to me. He was killed while I was away. And I had to handle trying to coordinate trauma services from Washington, D.C. away for work. And it was an interesting process for someone who's connected, who texts the mayor and so we sat with city officials. I asked all the questions I wanted to ask. And I sat there and I said, in real time, I said, wait a minute, y'all are answering my questions. Y'all are coming out to the community. I texted the mayor and I said, who is one point person in your administration that can get everybody together and bring your people out to the community? And it happened. Neighborhood response team. There was an additional, I believe, I don't want to lie, I want to say it's either between $195,000 and $250,000. It's been so long, I'll have to look up the post. Catherine Fine had named that they got additional funding for some trauma. We did have some influence on what is now the SOAR team, and this came directly from the mouth of the former HHS chief. And so, Sharon, thank you for putting that up. All of that to say that in February, we're going to do a We Need to Know 4 years later. It's hard to believe it's been 4 years. But given what happened to the 16-year-old in Codman Square, given to what I know the numbers were low in 21, but we still had a pandemic before this pandemic of issues of violence and trauma. All right, y'all, I don't want to start going off, Jesus. Ramilda, good to see you in the room. I'm going to get in trouble. Auntie Java's in the room. Kelly, good morning to you. Good to see you in the room. Donna, good morning to you. Good to see you in the room. Rena, good morning. I'm going to miss some folks and get in trouble. Will, my brother, good morning to you. My sister Mahogany, good to see you in the room, sweetheart. Naraki, beautiful, good morning. Good to see you in the room. Props, my brother, good to see you in the room. There's some changes coming, y'all. I was just not confident in doing them when I got all these guests on, but I might go do a little practice thing today. All right, guys, I'm going to get ready to get off of here. Belinda, good morning. Good to see you. Wait a minute. Where's Bonds? I thought somebody referred to a comment from Bonds. Where did it go? Okay. I thought I saw Bonds in the room. All right. I missed it. Brother, if you're still here, good to see you in the room this morning. My mother was in the room as well. Curtis was in the room. Good to see you, sir. All right, folks, I'm going to get ready to wrap up. Have a wonderful Thursday. Remember to stay thankful, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I got a couple of texts about the website being down. The new website is popping, and y'all are going to be able to go. You can do it now if we put it up, but we're just working out some things so I can still be able to do things like this. And shout out to my friend and brother, and I'm calling him producer, Props McFly, who is killing it with the aesthetics of this platform. So I appreciate you. I just want to acknowledge that we had an elected official in the room. City Councilor at Large, Julia Mejia, was here. So, oh, Jesus. You know what? These YouTube spammer things are sneaking up in the comments, y'all. To Tosh, ooh. So I was sitting here. Oh, I'm going to do this first, and then I see my brother still here. Tasha, I'm going to try to say this and keep my eyes dry. I know that Tasha was instantaneously able to type the date of the first We Need to Know meeting because I'm aware of what happened at that meeting for her. And it okay, keep it together, brother. What you see Tasha moving in today and the wonderful healing service that she's been curating for the past few years, that meeting was used as a vessel for her to get into this place. And so as much as there's fussing and whatnot, Tasha, you don't know what seeing you type that so quickly says to me. Love you, sis, and I appreciate you. This brother right here, now he gets me now for saying I'm ready to come on, but he can tell you that I was bugging him even before there was a real drama with Jimmy. Need to get you to come on because you got a voice and you can speak to some certain things. Did a wonderful toy drive a couple of years ago. Good brother here. Bonds, I love you and I appreciate you, man. And we're going to get you on. It's out there now. So what, bro? Nah, I love you, bro. And I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate you being in the room today, sir. All right, guys, I'm getting ready to go. Tasha, love you too. Thank you for the S on the last name. I mean, we went to high school together, but I appreciate you too, sis. And Belinda, thank you for everything. All right, folks, I'm getting out of here before I get in trouble. Stan, today's Thursday. I don't know. I'll just say I got to do better. And Shalia, good to see you in the room, sweetheart, this morning. Give your other 100, not half. Give your other 100 my best. All right, I'm rambling, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Have a wonderful, awesome, thankful Thursday, and we'll see you soon. Peace, everybody.